We live in a world that's very different to what it looked like just one generation ago. In the last 30 or 40 years, we've seen remarkable changes in the way the world works. These changes are generally associated with the process of globalization. Most of us are familiar with that term and will understand that it was accelerated by the development of information and communications technology. It was also accelerated by enhanced global transport systems, especially containerization in shipping. And, perhaps most importantly, historical differences in wealth between developed countries and those in the developing world, because of colonial histories and slavery, meant that it was cheaper to produce goods for consumption in North America and Europe on the other side of the globe, in, say, China or Vietnam. And so we've seen this globalization in the production and the distribution of goods and services. All of this has had substantial consequences for the way we live and how the world looks today. Think of the impact of computers and mobile phones. Think of the extraordinary gaps in wealth between rich and poor. Think of the awful extent of environmental destruction and climate change that we're seeing. Global studies as a field considers these issues. In turn, this has had substantial consequences for education. These gaps in wealth between rich and poor are reflected in schooling. We see the continued growth of private and international schools, while we see state schooling systems struggling to educate the children of the poor with shrinking state resources. So we now need to focus a lot more on education that is inclusive and that meets the needs of all children, on education for global citizenship and for planetary responsibility, on education for sustainable development. We see an increase in what is known as the global governance of education, the growing influence of international bodies such as the United Nations, UNESCO, the World Bank, the OECD. Global studies in education is the field that considers these questions. And it's hard to imagine how anyone going into the field of education can do so without substantial exposure to global studies and the problems, concepts, and debates it examines. That's why we're offering this degree. We've designed the courses in the degree to do just that. Our core courses revisit key and perennial issues in education and rethink them in global perspective. We consider contemporary global challenges, the consequences they have for education, and how education might help to respond to them. We look at local education in a globalized world, and our research-oriented core course focuses on the skills of effective communication in English, which is essential in the contemporary world. One elective course examines the histories of modernization and education development, another, the possible futures of education. We consider the devastating inequalities in education, and we study how higher education might play a greater role in international development. We offer a course in the global governance of education, the phenomenon I mentioned a moment ago. And to design and teach this program, we've drawn on our strong complement of international staff, who have among them a wealth of international experience and who come from at least 10 different countries around the world. And with our connections in UNESCO and in other international organizations and universities abroad, we're able to draw on a wealth of talent for our guest lectures. The Education University of Hong Kong and its Faculty of Education and Human Development, where our Department of International Education is located, were kind enough to allow me to take a couple of years unpaid leave to work at a UNESCO agency in Geneva, the IBE, or International Bureau of Education. The IBE focuses on helping to enhance curriculum learning in developing countries. At the time, I was editing the International Journal of Educational Development, which helped me in drawing on research in the academic domain and making it available in short policy papers for the education community globally. That kindness shown by this university has more than repaid itself, given that what I learned there has informed my research and teaching in the field, and specifically in the conceptualization and the design of this MA in Global Studies in Education.